computer. What's going on, people? Welcome back to the Uncensored Critic podcast. Today, I'm joined by a very, very special guest, someone who is a very good personal link to me in my life, someone I've had the pleasure of actually working with at the National Theatre a few years ago on a country called My Country, a work in progress. I can't speak today. It's really helpful. So yeah, My Country, work in progress. And of course, my guest is Christian Patterson, who I had to say had a genuine laugh a minute working with at the National on such an incredible production, to work with an amazing cast, and of course the great Rufus Norris himself. So Rufus, if you're listening, I've sent you an invite. Please come on. I know you've got a lot to deal with at the moment, mate, but please, but if you do have the time in the next few weeks, my door's always open for you. So without further ado, let's introduce Christian. So Christian was born and raised in Swansea, a proud Welshman like myself. He trained at the Royal Welsh College of Music and Drama and has actor, writer and director credits to his CV. His recent credits include The Way of the World at the Donmar Warehouse, St Nicholas, Blackbird, Blasted, The American Clock at the Old Vic, One Man, Two Governors, but that was in Cardiff, wasn't it?
Actually, that was down in Pembroke.
Pembroke. Oh,
down in Wales. Yeah.
My One Man, Two Governors, playing the lead, Francis Henshaw, and of course, My Country, a work in progress at the National Theatre. Christian has been nominated for several Wales Theatre Awards and actually won Best Actor for Blasted in 2016. He is a proud associate actor of the North Wales Theatre Company. Credits there include The Rise and Fall of the Little Voice, Insignificance, All My Sons, Aristocrats, Rape of the Fair Country, Glengarry Glen Ross, As You Like It. And of course, he's appeared on television as well. And his credits include Handstand, Ellen, Holby City, Doctors, Miss Selfridge, Crodmandoon, I think I said that right. And of course, My Country, which was on from the National, made it into a BBC Two show of that year when it was on at the National. So yeah, you've done a lot of work, my friend, I have to say.
Well, yeah, I've done a fair amount. You know, I'm quite proud of. Well done for reading through all those credits. And you did read Crodmandoon, right? Crodmandoon and the Flaming Sword of Fire. That was on BBC Two, about 15 years ago, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I played a character in it called Horst Draper, who was the local horse molesterer. Comedy, as you can imagine. And Matt Lucas was in it.
I was not expecting that this morning.
No. Matt Lucas was in it as well. And there was a character called Emperor Zanus, which, it was just really silly, and it was really good fun. You should check it out, actually. It's really good. 6 episodes, all half an hour, narrated by the wonderful Michael Gambon.
Oh, amazing talent. What was it like working with Matt Lucas at the time? It must have been quite a hoot.
It was incredible, actually, because I guess Matt was probably at the height of his fame, and there were a lot of other amazing actors in it, like Sean Maguire, Roger Allam, Kevin Hart.
No way.
Yeah. I always say to Dylan, our dad's worked with Kevin Hart, and I had to show him the DVD to prove it. But yeah, it was astonishing. And Matt Lucas was kind of like he's as funny off camera as he is on camera, and he's very, very likable. I didn't spend a lot of time with him, just a couple of days, but I was on it for about 3-4 weeks. He was on it for the full thing, of course, but he was just delightful. He's lovely. And I reached out to him, actually, because Dylan had gone through the Little Britain phase. Dylan's my son. And when he was going to comp, I just said on Twitter, Matt, Dylan loves Little Britain. I played Horse Draper in Crodmandoon. Would you just say good luck, And he came back as, what's that character he used to do? Yeah, but no, but.
Vicky Pollard.
Vicky Pollard. He came back with a long message as Vicky Pollard, which of course Dylan was.
He sounds like a genuine sweetheart, Matt.
He was delightful, and he's bloody funny man.
Yeah. I listened to he did a great podcast with I can't remember his name. I'll put the link in the description of this. I think it was a podcast called Unfiltered, and he was on with. I can't remember the host's name, so I will do some research on that one. He talked a lot about his how Little Britain actually, whilst it was funny, and of course I roared with laughter at Little Britain back in the day, and it's so funny. but somehow, but in this changing landscape that we find ourselves in at the moment, with Black Lives Matter and the Me Too movement of a few years ago, and just genuine sort of consciousness seems to be changing. You look back at some of these jokes that they pulled, and you're thinking to yourself, bloody hell, we laughed at that sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, and we're thinking like, oh my God, why that's not funny. That wouldn't translate.
Oh no. And to his credit, I think really he's kind of acknowledged that,
Yeah.
and as has is it Lee Francis, the guy that does Keith Lemon, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think Lee Francis. Yeah.
Yeah, he they've stepped up and gone, you know what, wasn't right, and the majority have gone, probably wasn't, well, it definitely wasn't, probably wasn't right then, definitely isn't right now, but actually when you look back at it, definitely wasn't right then, and definitely isn't right now.
Yeah.
But trends in comedy, it's a crazy thing, because if you watch something from the 1970s, you'll go, how on earth did this make it past? How was this acceptable? And I'm talking about comedy heroes of mine as well. Somebody like Spike Milligan, who I absolutely love. He did a program called Curry and Chips, and basically he played an Indian man in it. In the UK, totally bizarre. Just such a you could have a massive conversation about why was it acceptable then and why it's not acceptable now. But I think anyone with a conscience rather, looking back, would probably accept it wasn't right then either.
Yeah, I remember my dad showing me a clip of a show from the 70s. I can't remember the name of it, but they did this sort of thing on stage where they had three entertainers. It was a white couple on stage and a black entertainer. And I hope this isn't going to offend anyone who watches or listens to this, but this was just what it was at the time in the 70s. The woman and the black entertainer sort of went off stage, and already and she came back on stage. It was like there was some ruffles off stage, and she came back on it in a fright. It's like, oh, what's going on? It was like that typical sort of 70s gasp, And she came back on stage, and there were two handprints on her breasts, and I just thought, and my jaw just hit the floor, and I'm thinking, what? And people that you could hear the studio audience at the time, they're absolutely roaring their asses off at this thing, and I'm thinking, this is awful. This is awful. And it's just like the changing landscape of things at the moment is incredible.
Thank God for it, and thank God it's there's a lot of people that won't agree with this, but I'm glad that it's retrospective as well, and that we look back and we go, that's not acceptable.
Not good.
Lots of people say, oh, well, it was of its time, but maybe it's time to acknowledge that there was no time for it, really. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it was of the time, but nothing else. So that brings one to a question really about your experience in, working, I suppose, specifically on stage, really. Have you ever had, in the credits that I listed out just at the top of this episode, have you ever been on stage and you've said a line, or you've had a moment where somebody else has said a line, and there's a genuine that noise, you have like a genuine gasp of shock, or a moment that's really stuck with you?
Yeah, I have. I played Ian in Blasted by Sarah Kane, and I think she's a great playwright. And Ian was, I think, every ism you can think of, you could throw at Ian, and he is, or ist as well, And one of the things that I think he very definitely is racist. And he says, one of the very first lines he says when he looks out the Leeds hotel window is a very, very racist line. But Sarah Kane is not racist, but she's written a racist character. And, during that production, I have to rape a woman younger than myself. Eventually I got raped, and my eyeballs sucked out. I ate a dead baby and all that sort of stuff. It's an extraordinary piece of theatre. It's crazy to rehearse. But he's a vile individual. she's not glorifying him at all. She's holding him up for to the audience to show him, show them that
she's exposing it.
These people walk amongst us, But
yeah,
very, very, very early on in the run, it got a reaction most nights, but very early on in the run, I remember coming on and saying this particular line, and there being this mass sort of like, "Oh Christ," that was that hit, And it's a very throwaway comment, which in a way I think it makes it worse. It sounds acceptable, but yeah, that was a real eye opener. But it's more to do with character than the playwright. And in fact, Stu McQuarrie, who did My Country Work in Progress with us, worked with Sarah Kane at the Royal Court. I think he was one of the original characters or something, And she apparently had an amazing sense of humour. I'd love to have met her, but obviously she left us too soon.
That sounds extraordinary, because I've looked at Sarah Kane a few times, and like 448 Psychosis and other plays like that, and I thought to myself, I couldn't imagine what it must be like just to share a rehearsal room with Sarah, because because she's written very dark stuff, and to hear Stuart, who's just gone to her and just go, oh, she's got an amazing sense of humor.
Apparently she liked silly jokes, stupid jokes, So I'd like to think that, because I love a silly joke, I'd like to think that we would have got on. I hope we would have anyway. But the press were really, really unkind to her and didn't get her work at all.
They were.
They
were slating her from start to finish.
Yeah. There was a guy called, I can't actually, his name won't come to my mind now, but he was a reviewer at the time, and he called it blasted something like a disgusting piece of filth or something like that. But actually, when you break down the bones of what Blast is about, it's clinical. It's incredible, and the detail in it is beautiful. And her dialogue is probably the easiest dialogue I've ever spoken in my entire life.
Really?
It sounds like your everyday person,
Yeah, because at school we did a lot of in year 12, like if your first year A levels, at the end we did drama, and we all had to do like a monologue. That was part of one of our exams, and a lot of people did Sarah Kane, specifically 448 Psychosis, that speech where she just goes off on one saying like, I can't go on, I can't fucking go on, I can't do this anymore. And all of us were just thinking, wow. I mean, don't get me wrong, her writing is extraordinary. There's no doubt about that at all. But I have yet to actually sit through. Oh no, have I sat through Sarah Kane? I think I have sat through Sarah Kane before, actually, and I was surprised at how much I actually enjoyed it in a way, because up to that point I thought, oh my god, like, what am I going to see today? Am I going to see some some really dark commentary on life, or someone that's just going to paint a character who's so full of despair or something like that? But actually I went along and I found myself like chuckling along to the whole thing, and I'm thinking, am I sitting in a Sarah Kane play here? I mean, I'll be honest, I probably wrote it off before I even experienced it, but I think now I've realized that you shouldn't judge too early, and plus for someone so dark, she had a fantastic sense of humor by the looks of things.
I think Psychosis, I've heard people say this, and having read it, I've not seen it, not been lucky enough to see it, because I would love to see it. I'd like to see all our work, actually. I'd like to be in all our work. I think from what I hear, Psychosis is quite close to almost being a suicide note in a way. And when you read it, you kind of get the feeling that play probably cost her more personally than any other play that she wrote.
Oh, without a doubt.
But of course, I can't say that for a fact, because, as I say, I didn't know her. But it's bleak, but it's also incredibly beautiful. And yeah, she's gifted, really gifted.
Is she? I don't think she's with us anymore, is she?
No, she took her own life.
Yeah, I thought so.
I worked with the director that directed an awful lot of her work. He directed the show that I was in the Dormer Warehouse. He talked about Way of the World, and yeah, it was. And the same thing happened to us during that. One of the cast members took their lives during that, and it was a massive. Oh my God, I can't. God, even talking about it, it was beyond horrendous, especially for his family, of course, but us as a cast and stuff. And the night that we were supposed to perform, when we found out what had happened, James, the director, came in. James McDonald, the director, came in and said, "This thing has happened to me before. A very similar thing has happened to me before." And I realised, of course, that he was talking about Sarah Kane, because they were great mates.
Wow. I mean, did you have to write the show off? Did you?
No. We were off for about a week, because the shock was so much to all the cast and the creatives on it, and it was horrific. It was absolutely horrific. So, and he was Welsh, so he came home here. Sorry, I came home here to. I went up with his very best friend to see his parents and things, because I felt it was what I wanted to do, and yeah, it was horrendous. And then we rehearsed another guy in, and who had played the part before, and then we continued to play with him. And I have to say, to give his name was Alan, and to give Alan his dues, you know, wow, coming into a cast that has had that experience and has fractured them a great deal, as well as pulling them together emotionally. He did an incredible job. He did an incredible job, because that's not going to be an easy thing for anyone to do.
No.
But we carried on, and I think the majority of us would say that we carried on in Alex's memory, really, and that's what made us able to do it night after night, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a great shock. It was a great shock.
Yeah,
and of course the link with that is that the director that was directing that, James McDonald, was a great friend of Sarah Kane's, and he had gone through that when she took her life as well.
Oh, goodness me. I mean, it's, yeah, I mean, funny enough, I was going to bring this up actually, in terms of, I don't mean to continue with the quite the dark topics here or anything, but did you ever look at Gary Owen at all? Did you ever done any of his work at all?
No, I know Gary, and he came to see the play that we're talking about, Blasted, and he had a play that the Royal Court were doing, and he said, "Oh, I'd like you to be seen for it." So he sorted me an audition for that play. I have to say that I love Gary's work, and I think he's a tremendous writer and stuff like that, and I'd love to do a piece of his work. But I did 2 meetings for that, and they are, without a shadow of a doubt, 2 of the weirdest meetings I've ever had in my entire life.
What happened?
Well, the first one that I went up to, it was a very early morning, and the director forgot that I was coming. And the second one, I was sat in stage. So I went on tape that time. And the second time, I was sat at stage door, and I saw him pass me. It was lunch hour. I saw him pass me, and the casting director came out and said, "Did you just see?" I won't say his name mostly, but "Did you just see?" And I said, "Yeah, he's just passed me," and she had to go and find him. So, you know, doesn't really settle you as an actor, if I'm being completely honest. It's hard enough to keep auditioning for things anyway, you know, because you do put yourself on the line a lot when you're an actor. And even though rejection is virtually around every single corner, and we learn to take it, it's never great. So, you know, putting yourself in a position where you've travelled the first time at 4:00 in the morning to get the Royal Court at 8, and then the second time, you know, to get there for lunch hour, and I was rehearsing a play the first time, and in a play the second time, so I was rushing back. And you just think, give me a fair chance of this, give me a stab at this, you know.
Yeah.
And weirdly, the actor that got the role, and I won't say his name, but he's a bloody brilliant actor. I did a workshop with him about 3 weeks ago, and I said to him, you know, like I said, they kept me penciled for that part for a long time. You know, they were basically after him, but I think they needed someone just in case they didn't get him. But he's a tremendous actor. I'm not saying his name. but I can't.
Come on, you can say it.
No, I can't. I couldn't possibly, because the story will all link together and it won't be great. But no, he's great. He's great. He's a great Welsh actor. That's all I'll say.
Okay, no, it's not Michael Sheen, is it?
No, God no. Michael Sheen apparently, well, I know he does, lives up the road from us now, down here. Yeah, and I saw him in Tesco's one day, and I'm pretty sure that he heard this, because Michelle, my wife, and Michael were in youth theatre together.
All right.
So I think they were in David Copperfield, and Russell. Oh God, his name's
Davis.
Yes, Russell T. Davis. Thank you.
Yes.
He wrote the David Copperfield that they were in, and they played opposite each other. And I was down in, you know what it's like with Welsh people, right? The volume is a problem for Welsh people, right?
It is.
I genuinely think that I'm whispering sometimes, and Michelle will say to me, "You really, really not." But anyway, I was down in Tesco's, and Michael was there with his wife, girlfriend. I don't know if he's married. I don't know. And the wife had obviously said in a mock sort of like almost Les Dawson style, "Who's been there?" You know. And he turned and he went, "Ooh," like this. And she went, "It's him, you know, it's him from the Damn United." And she went, "What, the bloke who played Brian Clough?" Like this. And he turned like that, and he turned back to his wife and he went, "He's put on weight, didn't he?" And I was thinking, yeah, I think he might have lost the weight for the role, actually.
He's really method. He's really method.
But wow, it was, yeah. This conversation, her conversation was very like, all the mouth and stuff. His, well, it was, you could have blown the froth off a bloody 20 yards of the way. I think
fantastic.
I think he's a great actor, though.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, that must be where he filmed. Have you watched Staged at all? The thing he did with David.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, with him. Yeah,
that was wonderful. Yeah, so he probably filmed that just up the road from you, probably in his house. Yeah,
he probably did, actually. Yeah,
yeah.
I think Staged is like a love letter to our industry.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
it's really, really good. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the first series, and I thought, I hope the second series doesn't sort of cock it up. But if anything, I think I enjoyed the second series more.
It did, yeah.
Because I was relaxed into it.
Yeah, I remember just thinking, because that was the first TV series I sort of watched when I came back from drama school, because I've deferred my play, so I'll be going back in October, and that was the first thing I've really watched, after that, and I just thought this. For anyone who doesn't understand what sort of us actors, what we're going through at the moment, this is what it's all about. We're trying to rehearse a play, or do a rehearsal, or do a Lecoq session, or a Larben session, or a Shakespeare session over the internet. This is what we are doing at the moment, and
absolutely,
and it had its struggles. I mean, there was one Larben class I did at GSA, I say at GSA in my bedroom, and the girl's Wi-Fi, Rose, God bless her, her Wi-Fi kept cutting out the whole time, and we were left with intervals during a lesson, which we're paying good money for, just like, "Oh, Rose, is she
yeah. There's been a lot of this, if I've been rehearsing something or done a reading online, there's been a lot of, and then it kicks in again, and you go, what just happened then?
That was very good. It's very good. Very good. I believed it for a sec there. I was like, oh no.
There's been a lot of that, but and this room has been any number of things during lockdown. I don't know how many auditions and self-tapes I've done in here. Because obviously, you can't get to London to meet people. But and for some people, unrightly so, I think, some people have said it's not a great way of doing it, because you can't, once you're in the room, you can take directions so much better if they say, "Can you try it like this?" But it's the way we have to do it. So we're all getting used to it now, I think, until, fingers crossed, this thing passes, which I hope it will.
It will. It will pass. It'll take time, but it will go. It will go. I can just imagine you going, you sort of have a Zoom call for this, and you go, okay, Christian, can you? Okay, here's what we're gonna do. I want you to do. Do you get my point? And it's like, well,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
And it's like, okay, whoa, I'm really sorry, I didn't hear you for 1 second there, and then you have to go all that all over again. It's just, oh, it's amazing.
Well, there was an audition where I did the entire scene, and they asked would I read with my wife, because my wife had done the reading off camera when I did the initial audition.
Yeah.
Off tape, and I sent it off, and they went, it's great. It would be great if your wife was there to read in. And I went, yeah, absolutely, no problem at all.
Sure.
And she sat off camera, and the computer was on the windowsill there, natural light and stuff. And I did the entire scene, and then I stopped and looked, and I realised that they'd frozen. I don't know. I don't even know what part they saw. They didn't see something. Eventually, I sort of logged back in, and they went. We saw like 4 lines of it. Would it be possible to do it again? And I went, yeah, no problem. But it doesn't half throw you off. You think, they didn't see that. That might have been the greatest bit of acting I've ever done all over.
Yeah. Like, oh, fuck's sake, that was the best acting I've done for ages. And it's lost. It's lost in context.
But it was gone. So, yeah, but there's been a lot like that. I mean, actually, to be honest with you, you take the rough with the smooth, and that sort of stuff is quite funny as well as being.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Because I think even in stage, there's a lovely moment in the first episode where, they do that exact thing happens where Michael sort of leans in and goes, well, Simon, why do you want to do this? And he goes, honestly. And he goes, okay, well. Just gone. I thought they had to put that in because that has been the struggle, I think.
He's a great director, Simon Evans, isn't it? Yeah.
Simon Evans, yeah.
He's a great director. He's a great director. I met him on the press night of Way of the World because I had done a play at the Other Room in Cardiff called St. Nicholas. This is a one-man play by the his name's gone out of my brain, Conor McPherson, who is like, oh my God.
But he's
what a wordsmith. He's amazing. And this play was extraordinary. And we had hoped to do, we did a little bit of a tour with it, not much, and we had hoped that we would be able to take it to a smaller theatre in London. And it just so happens that another actor and director were hoping to do it. And I think they did it at the Doma. They did do it at the Doma. And Simon was the director of it. So on that night, we shared this story, and I think he was in pre-rehearsals for it then. And I said, I'll come and see it. But I never got a chance to see it, but I would have loved to see it. But he's a really clever man. I hope our paths cross one day, because I spent about half an hour with him in the after show party with my agent, who knew him very well. And he's clever. He's a clever man.
Yeah. I mean, he plays a really good part as well in that. I have to say, he plays the director who can't really handle the production really well. I was really brought into that. All right, so just going back a couple of steps. I mentioned Gary Owen earlier about I know you said you hadn't worked with him much, but funny enough, I have him to thank for, because I did a speech from his play Love Steals Us from Loneliness to actually get into GSA actually, which is an amazing. If you ever get the chance to do that play, I strongly recommend you do it. It's a lovely piece.
I'd do any play with Gary's name on it. I would do any play that had Gary's name.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough to see. In fact, I think you can still catch it on digital theatre now. The Ijanaya and Splot.
Well, it's my great friend Sophie Melville.
Yeah. Oh, of course. You know her. you know her.
Sophie and myself. One of the other plays you mentioned is a two-hander, Blackbird, and it was Sophie and myself who were in that cast. But we've known each other for about 8 years now, and. Yeah. A little bit less than that, maybe 7 years or so. She's phenomenal, and the combined efforts of her and Gary and Rachel, the director, on that, I mean, wow, it was stunning,
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, I love to hear about like the stories of because Love Steals Us from Loneliness is all a bit based in Bridgend, and of course it's based around the time of the Bridgend suicides in 2008, I think it was. Was it 2008?
It was a very peculiar time. Yeah, I think it's around then. I couldn't give it an exact date. But
Yeah,
that was a very peculiar time.
yeah.
Very strange.
Is that your call?
Sorry. No, that's not my call. That one. That's one that I can.
Put on silent.
That is. Yeah, that one's I can put on silent. So
Okay, that's fine.
should explain actually, because obviously that's going to be in your recording.
Yeah.
I've just come back from Bulgaria.
Yeah.
I was filming an advert, so now I've got to. I came back day before yesterday, and now I've got to quarantine for 10 days. So what the call I'm waiting for is from NHS Wales to go through my quarantine details. So
Yeah.
that wasn't them though.
Okay, that's all right.
That's where the phone rang, not for me.
There's the phone rang. So it's like, you need to self-isolate for 10 days. Yes, I'm doing it right now.
Yeah.
No need to do that. So yeah, but I've always been curious about, because I listened to, did you ever listen to Play Crust? There's a great podcast series run by the guy who owns the Sherman Theatre in Cardiff at the moment. He released this, he had Michael Sheen on for talking about, his, sorry?
Is it Jake?
Yeah, no, it's not Jake. It's oh no, I can't remember his name. He runs the Sherman Theatre now. I'm gonna have to look him up. So I'll just give me 1 second, but I'll talk and search at the same time. So he had Michael Sheen on, talking about his sort of upbringing in Port Albert, and just that kind of working class upbringing, etc., and stuff like that. And of course, looking at Bridgend and doing a bit of research into the town and looking at Gary's backstory, etc. For someone like yourself who grew up in similar, who grew up in similar circumstances in Wales, do correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed to me that for Michael Sheen and for these guys to say, I want to be an actor, it felt like an extraordinary kind of leap of faith in a way that, this is what I'm going to be doing. Was it something that was similar to you, or was it something that kind of happened naturally?
No, I think it's well. For example, I only found out this recently, but I think Michael was born in Newport actually, but I think he was. I know he was brought up in Port I think probably the valley that he is from in Port Albert, within a stone's throw, you could hit Anthony Hopkins's house where he was born and raised.
Yep.
You could hit Richard Burton's house where he was born and raised, and people like singers like Ivor Emanuel and all those sorts of things. Very, very rich area of great performers. That sort of Port Albert area, and I think. It wouldn't have been easy for him to say he wanted to be an actor, but I guess people would have said to him more than they would to me naturally, or what, like Anthony Hopkins or Richard Burton, or you're going to follow in Anthony Hopkins. I guess that he would have had that more, maybe, that's a total guess, than me. I come from the Swansea Valley, and now in the Neath Port Talbot Valley. Well, I am in Neath Port Talbot, but I'm closer to Neath. That for me to say I wanted to be an actor, I think there was a lot of, oh, there we are then, that's nice, oh, good for you type thing.
Well, there you are.
Yeah, but I was fortunate in as much as I had a careers officer called Keith Millwood at the school, and we had to write down 3 things that we wanted to be, or wanted to try and further our career education in and stuff like this. And he did an awful lot of Amdram. So when I went to see him, I was expecting the sort of similar reaction as everyone else gave. Oh, you want to be an actor? Oh, there we are. Then great. It's the equivalent now of people saying, I want to be an actor. Oh, great. Which McDonald's do you work at? That type of thing. You want fries with that, or blah blah blah. I think it's completely something that's completely unobtainable. But Keith, of course, having done a lot of amateur dramatics and stuff like that, I went into his office and thought, right, I've got a list of 3 things, and at the top is that I want to be an actor, And I said I wanted to be an actor, and we didn't talk about anything else. he just went, fantastic, brilliant, fantastic. Right. So I would suggest now, go to Neath or Swansea or go to Annan College, and then go from there to, Royal Welsh College, well, it was Welsh College then, Welsh College of Music and Drama, or RADA, or Lambda, or, and I just thought, oh my God, this man believes that it's possible, and yeah, but combine that with the first 4 years of being in comp. The drama was taught mainly by a maths teacher or whoever was available, a games teacher, and it was poor, really poor. So I didn't even take it as a subject. And then up turns this woman called Denise Cavalli, and she joined and was a drama teacher, and she was utterly brilliant. I mean, incredible. And I did my GCSE drama with her within 3 months. And my prac, for example, I mean, obviously 16 years of age, but my drama prac was a piece from John Osborne's Look Back in Anger. It was Jimmy Porter. And, she just, it blew my mind in a way, because Denise had been an actress as well. And I thought, well, hold on a minute, this is possible. It's not easy. It's not an easy profession. I love it, but there are some things about it that will drive you mad. And there are some, if you're an actor with your salt and you haven't thought, Christ, why did I choose to do this? Then you're a far better person than I am, because that thought must pop into my mind 10, 20 times a year. But I'm fortunate enough to really love and respond to what I do, and I love working with people, and I love meeting people, and I love being in different headspaces and all these sorts of things. So, and I'm fortunate, and that's what it is as well, Oliver. A lot of people will talk about talent and stuff like that. Of course, talent is what gets you the job, but luck, I think, gets you in the room. My agent will put me up for any number of things, and it's whether or not that CV lands at the right time for that person to go, yeah, let's see him, But it's a phenomenal job. Phenomenal.
It is. Great. It is, yeah. And, just building on that, I was very lucky in that, I went to university, I went to Sussex, and then the first 2 years were tough, living away from home, etc., blah, blah, blah. And, getting through this, through doing really heavy academia about drama. And there are many, many times where I thought, I'm going to drop out. I don't like this. This is not good. I mean, I'm not here to study drama. I'm actually here to be on stage. That's not what they did. But long story short, I persevered with it. And it was the luck that Rufus's mate, who's the tutor on our course, called Sarah Jane Bales, was lucky enough in talks with Rufus to actually have a placement at the National that year. And so I remember that they called all our placement people who wanted to do a placement in the room, and I think I must have gone, okay, so what does everyone want to do? And everyone around the room saying, oh, I'm not sure, I could see myself maybe doing this, or potentially this, or potentially that, but it came to me, and I said, well, I would really like to go to the National Theatre, because I think the National Theatre is a lovely thing, because it's a national monument. So I think I said the word National Theatre about 20 times in the space of 3 minutes or something like that. But I really wanted to get that point across. And I ended up getting the placement, and of course meeting yourself and working on a great show, and a great show for the times as well. So the luck was there, I think, and also it was a case of proving that obviously, as you say, talent, that you can go there, you can do a good job, etc. But the luck that was there, and of course I also had the luck of hearing about the filming project as well, which we went on to film sort of later that year. Before, I think you guys finished your this was during the tour.
Yeah, it was when we were in Birmingham.
It was, yes.
I've never been so Birmingham, and it might have been Warwick as well. I've never been so tired in my entire life.
Yeah.
But we all were, I walked on to warm up once, and Penny, Cavan, and Laura were all huddled together on the floor, fast asleep. I was I put a blow up bed when we were in Birmingham. I put a blow up bed in the dressing room.
Yeah, you just there in the corner. You just see the three of them. Just like,
I've never been so tired, but it was a great experience.
yeah, I remember chatting to you with a few other people who was there. A few of us other, well, they called us silence, didn't they? And I think you were just, I think where someone said to you like, so you guys are filming during the day and performing the show at the Birmingham Rep at night. And I said, how are you surviving at the moment? And I think you said to him, well, I think I worked out the other day that I worked for 15 hours straight the other day of all day filming and then going to do a show at night, having a few hours sleep, and then up at the crack of dawn. I was up at 5 o'clock every morning to go and get to set for 7. And I did the I can't imagine how you guys just kept going. I mean, was it just a matter of like sheer willpower towards the end?
Yeah, I think it was really, to be honest with you, and also, you see, Rufus is one of these people that not only is he incredibly talented,
Oh yeah.
but he's bloody lovely. So you just wanna rip your heart out and go, is this all right? Is this um and
Yeah.
he's just so lovely to be around. I did that workshop with him 3 or 4 weeks ago, and you do anything for him,
Yeah. Yeah.
because he's just so brilliant. But aside from being brilliant, which he is, as I say, the one thing that he very very is, he's warm, he's lovely. Think of those times, for example, when it got cut from the show in the end, but when we had the dart section that was going to be in My Country, a Work in Progress, and we had the dart
Oh,
in there,
yes.
and
Yeah.
then we'd break for a cup of tea, and then Rufus would say, fancy a game of darts, and you'd think, I've got a quarter of an hour break, and I'm playing darts with the Poet Laureate, Ann Duffy, and the artistic director of the National Theatre. This, if it gets better than this, then yeah, let me know, because I don't know.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and I was lucky. Of course, I forgot to mention Ann Duffy as well, who was part of that production. Who I studied at GCSE. We looked at some of her poems. One was called Quick Draw, and it was
Yeah, yeah,
about cowboys in the desert or something like a drawing duel, whatever it is called. But I remember there was one line that the English teacher was just slaving over for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. We're trying to find the symbolism of this one little line. I think it's like silver bullets of your kiss or something like that. And all of us were getting so frustrated with this. And I was thinking, look, it's just describing bullets. Okay, that's all there is to it. But then I remember walking back to the rehearsal room, and there's Ann Duffy just walking with me in the corridor. And she goes, "Hey Ollie, how you doing?" And then immediately a small part went, "The Poet Laureate knows my name. She knows my name. She knows my name." And I remember just thinking to myself, "Oh my God, I can ask that question now." And I went up to her and I said, "Oh yeah, really good. I just wanted to say that we studied Quick Draw, your poem for GCSE." And she went, "Oh, sorry about that." And I said to her, look, this line, silver bullets of your kiss, what does that mean exactly? Because we were struggling to find symbolism for that for weeks. And she looked at me and just went, Ollie, I'm just describing bullets.
mm.
And I thought, oh, crying out loud,
Yeah.
serious. And so the English teacher was just like, it's like, where does this come from? Where do we find all this? And she just goes, I'm just describing bullets. And it's like, oh, crying out loud. But
It's funny because a lot of people,
oh,
that is them.
oh, that is them. Okay, so we'll pause here and
Good
then we'll
call.
reconvene in a few moments. Okay, we'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Christian's just had his call. It's pretty much you're in for the next few days, huh?
I mean, until the 22nd, yeah. So
Yeah.
I thought, because the company had booked you have to book 2 tests to show that you're COVID free, and the first one went off this morning, and then there's one on day 8. But they were sending somebody on day 5 to do a test to release, which means that if that one comes back negative, you can go out after day 7. But I've just been told that's not available in Wales, so I'll be here until midnight on the 22nd of May.
Oh,
I've never watched so many box sets in my life.
oh, you're gonna have to find some more.
I know. But there we are. It's fine.
You could rewatch Game of Thrones or something, although just leave out the last series.
Oh God! But hey, it's got to be done. Better safe
Yeah,
than sorry, isn't it?
exactly. Where were we before?
Well, I was playing darts with Caroline
Oh
Duffy
yes,
and Rufus Norris, but I think we were
yeah.
just coming to an end of that. So.
No, yeah, we just talking about Rufus. I remember a story of Rufus in the rehearsal room, and he was just so, such a down-to-earth guy, just someone who wasn't intimidated by anyone or anything. I remember on the first day when we're all, the first day of rehearsals, when you're all in that big circle and then you're just simply going, hello, my name's Ollie, I'm here on a work placement. Hello, my name's Christian, I'm actually in it, and stuff like that. He kicked it off by just going, all right, guys, thank you all for coming. So first of all, I'm a bit nervous because I absolutely no fucking idea what we're going to be doing. So
Yeah, actually, to be honest with you, talk about taking a job on trust. You knew you were going to be all right because of the people who were at the helm of it, really. But yeah, I had no idea. I went down to do the audition in the middle of December, and it just happened a day off from doing Panto. So I went down to see Rufus, and he said, "Have a listen to this. Have a listen to this." Right, okay. Now put it in your ear, and try and speak as they're speaking. And it was the young lad. What's his name? Curtis Thomas Pop.
Yeah. Good bus service.
Yeah. Lovely. Good bus service. Don't have any argues. So it was him, and I think the other one was Angela that I did.
Yeah.
And she was the one that was talking about, ex-police force and all sorts of stuff, and he went, yeah, great, fantastic. And I thought, oh, okay. And as I left, I was saying to the casting director, so who else is coming in? And he went, no, he's seen loads of people. He just wants to see you before making a decision on who he's going to cast,
Oh.
And I said, oh, right, okay. I said, but you start like on the 7th of Jan or something. And she went, yeah. She said, we've got to get a cast. This was something like the 21st of December. She said, we've got to get a cast soon. She said, but a couple of offers have gone out. And she said, and we're just putting things together now. Well, the next day I got a call off my agent to say he wants you to play the part of Wales, Cymru. She said, so do you need to see a script? And I said, well, there's not going to be one for a very long time, I was laughing with him and saying, he came up to me on the opening night of, not the preview, the opening night of My Country, and said to me, we're missing a Welsh voice in that last part where you all walk off, I said, right, okay. He said, we think it should be Mrs. Morgan, and it should be the bit about her getting her CBOB, I think she got actually. I said, yeah, okay. I said, he said, can you learn a bit for this evening, and we'll just put in a bit and trail out at the end. And I went, yeah, fine. I said, how much do you want me to learn? And he went, about that much. I said, what's that? Is that 8-10 lines? He went, yeah, do 10 lines, 10 lines,
Yeah, and you're like, Rufus, I love you, man, but that's just not possible.
So I sat in the dressing room and learnt these 10 lines, there or thereabouts anyway, and did them that night. And then the next day we rehearsed, and he put an in and an out. So it was me starting, then her voice came in and I trailed out,
Yeah.
But it's great. I'll never forget it. How much do you want me to learn?
10 lines. Yeah, can I learn by tomorrow? That'd be great.
I learned them that night.
That night. Yeah, of course. Yeah, if you haven't learned for tonight, that'd be great. It's like, Rufus.
As I say, you do anything for him.
Oh, absolutely. I suppose one of the big questions for today was about that process. How did you create? Because I was in the rehearsal room for quite a lot of that process, and I saw how you guys put things together in a way. And of course, having devised a few shows myself, etc., or having been in a company of devising, what was it like to create that particular experience with Rufus and the guys and everything else, creating a show from essentially nothing at all. What was that rehearsal process like?
Well, I think if I suppose the only way I could describe it is if you had a set text,
Yeah.
you might have some idea how you think it should be. I never go in with too many set ideas anyway, but you may have an idea of what the piece is going to look like or be at the end of it, and maybe a slight inkling of what you'll do with the character and stuff like that. Obviously, it was multi-characters, and we didn't have a script until I don't think we had. I don't really think we had a script until about a couple of nights after we'd opened. I think
Yeah,
we,
it
a
was
couple of nights
really
after
like last minute, wasn't it?
yeah, because because he was watching it with an audience and going, take that bit out, put that in, take that in. He was so clinical, as was Carol Ann. That things were chopping and changing all the time. But whereas with most plays, maybe you have an idea where it goes and it gets clearer as you sort of rehearse. I think the overarching thing for me was one, the fun in the room. There was a lot of fun in the room, a lot of creativity in the room, and you could throw anything in and do anything. But it was kind of as chaotic at the end of the bubble as it was at the beginning of the bubble. So I remember on the first night thinking, I think I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And saying, and because the lad shared a dressing room and saying to Adam and Stu and Cavan, do you all feel like you've got a real grip on what you're doing? They go, no, absolutely, but it kind of really came together in. I can't remember how many preview performances we had, but it came together in those previews really because of the brilliance of the outside eyes, which were mainly Caroline and Rufus, and it shaped so beautifully. I remember Caroline saying the script that's in the shop is going to be withdrawn because it's changed so much now, even from when that was sent. It was withdrawn and a new version was put out. And then we toured it around the UK, and it was incredible because I think the reaction that it got, people either loved it or hated it. They didn't go, it was all right, it's all right. And I think I like being in a polarizing play. I like being in something when people don't go, I give it a 3 out of 5. I'd rather somebody go 1 out of 5 or 5 out of 5, and it certainly did that. But also, what was really weird about it was that they had been very, very particular to make sure that the argument for leaving and staying was literally 50-50. And the amount of people that, that would say, well, of course, it's very influenced in Remain, isn't it? And I'd say, no. Oh, well, it's very influenced to Leave. And you'd think it's not. It's just your perception of it.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah,
I remember Rufus sent me a task to do while we were there. And he said to me, right, I remember he sat us down in the office on the first day, and I was really kind of pretending to look quite serious. And I'm thinking, I've got the artistic director, but I thought, okay, no, just park all that. You get to do a job, okay? He's put his trust in you, so just get on with it. And he asked me to sift through the stuff. But one thing he asked me to look for was news clips. And I remember we showed you guys in the
they were great.
In one rehearsal, yeah, and he sat me by the computer, and he had a big screen, and he said, "Just play me what you found, basically." And when I was researching that, I went through quite a lot of stuff, and it was just extraordinary to see the divide because my first thought building up to the vote was that it's going to be Remain. I'm a Remainer myself. I just thought, there's no possible way that Leave is going to happen. It's not going to happen. So but then I remember the morning of the vote, my family and I, we woke up, and we were about to head to Cornwall actually on that morning, and we were back, the bags were packed and everything was ready to go, and we were just about to leave, and I said, oh shit, we haven't checked the result. So we switched on the news, and I was reading it. I went, UK votes to Leave. And I turned around and said, guys, we voted to Leave. And they went, oh, don't be silly. Let's have a look. And it came in, and it was everyone was just like, what? And
Jaw drop. But weirdly for me, I hadn't swung. I'd never said that, I was looking to leave or something like that. As an actor and as a person and as a human being, I didn't think it was the right thing to do. But I remember saying in rehearsals, when I saw the bus, the big red bus with,
yeah, 350 bus, yeah.
350 million to the NHS and stuff. I'm being a very proud Welshman, and obviously in Aaron Bevan, I founded the NHS and stuff like that. And I think it's the best thing we have in the UK, the thing that we should be the most proud of the NHS.
Yeah.
And I looked at it and I thought, oh, wait a minute, the one thing that the NHS needs is funding, better funding. It's going to, whatever it's given, it's always going to need more. And in my opinion, it will always deserve it.
Yeah, I agree.
But, my wife said to me, you just need to look who's on that bus, who's put that promise on the bus, and you go, well, it's Boris and Michael Gove. And she went, there you go. And I thought, oh, Christ, what was I thinking? What was I thinking? You know? And so I went down and I voted to remain.
Yeah.
But it did shake me a bit, that bus. And I'm kind of ashamed to say that now, really, because of course they weren't going to do that.
No, it's all lies.
The day after, when Farage was on GMTV or whatever he was on, and they said, because it was nothing to do with him, that bus, but they said that 350 million, and he said, yeah, that was a mistake. They should never have said that. And you think that's the day after the vote.
Yeah.
And also, don't forget the early morning of the vote, he had said, it looks like Remain have won. It's going to be close. We'll have to have another vote. But Leave won. It was very, very close, but there was no talk of having another vote then.
Nope.
It was so self-serving.
Yeah, I remember I couldn't help but notice the day of the vote when we announced to leave that there was a look on the face of the politicians like the Boris and the Michael Gove and whoever else was part of the Leave campaign, etc. Farage and people like that. I generally got the impression that when the result came through, I didn't think they were expecting that.
Well, they were shocked. They were absolutely shocked.
Yeah, and suddenly they're thinking, "Oh shit, it worked."
Yeah.
What
Boris, the thing is,
now?
I don't know if you remember literally the day after he was holed up in his house and he came out and
moved, wasn't he? Yeah.
People all around him, news people and your everyday people like us, and they were really having a go at him and stuff like that, And then he was in the wilderness for a little while, and then Theresa May put him in the cabinet, and then he ends up as Prime Minister. I mean, it's absolutely there'll never be nothing will ever surprise me ever again, thanks to Brexit and Trump and Boris.
Yeah,
nothing will ever surprise me ever again. Yeah. You can't do anything politically that will shock me ever again.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like we could be talking of like the next recession or the next big vote. That's like Boris would hypothetically say Boris encourages Northern Irish independence or Welsh independence or Scottish independence, and we sit there going, yeah, all right, okay, well, let's see if that happens. And particularly like this past 14 months as well of just everything that's gone on. And it wasn't, I thought it was criminal how, we've touched on my experience at GSA. I remember the third night we were there, that was when he announced lockdown 3. And we're getting there and we're full of anticipation of like, we're at GSA, we're at drama school. We're like, yeah, it's going to be a bit interesting at first. We might have to be on Zoom for a bit, but it's looking positive. We're going to go back in the studio. It's going to be fine. But then third night there, Boris plunges us all into lockdown 3. And immediately they're saying, all right, studio's off limits. No online only, no exceptions whatsoever. And whilst that was awful news, it didn't surprise me at all. I thought, here we go again. Just the same old stuff.
It doesn't surprise me either, but this thing with obviously done a slower release this time, and in Wales we've gone at a different rate anyway. We've always gone at a different rate,
Yeah.
and we've had a lot of cases, and at one point, living in Neath Talbot was almost like being in an enforced lockdown, really, because every area around us were the figures were massive. So they had like local lockdowns. So we were surrounded.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they all died down in terms of their numbers being, their our number being up, and ours went huge. But this thing, that he says about everything will stop on June the 21st. I'll be the first one to say, wouldn't that be marvelous? But just remember the lessons from Eat Out to Help Out. It was Eat Out to Spread. Do you know what I mean? That was, and you said before this as well. He was blaming the young people and stuff. He blamed everyone. He blamed everyone. He would not hold his hands up and go, maybe that wasn't a great idea. And they're going to have to do something. I know that's why we're here and that's why we're talking today. But they're going to have to do something for theatre. They're going to have to help out in some way.
Well, thankfully, he's not the most credible person to be quoting, but Oliver Snowden, who is the culture secretary, actually has plunged, I think, billions into the arts projects. But
Oliver Dowden.
Oh, Dowden, sorry. Yeah,
he's got your Welsh brain on then.
Yeah, he's well, then there's controversy of that because so that money is for the mainstream theatres like the ones in town or the ones in Cardiff or the significant regional theatres like the Birmingham Rep and the Manchester Crucible and probably any others, but it's all the little regional theatres who hold maybe 1,500 seats or 800 seats or 500 seats who didn't get a share, and and that's just you say it's to save theatre, but it's not actually saving all the theatres, is it? It's only saving you the ones that make you the most money, and
that's a worry. That's a worry. Because there is a theatre down that I've performed at that I did One Man Two Governors at down in West Wales. It's a beautiful theatre. It's called the Torch Theatre. It's in Milford Haven, and the next big theatre to that really, or the next theatre that does produce home produced stuff. I mean, the theatre down the road from us used to, but the lady that was pushing that is leaving now. So the next place is Cardiff. Well, that's 2 hours away.
Yeah.
And the Torch put on quality productions, so they should definitely get a share of any money that's going.
Yes. Things will get better. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see how it goes from here. But let's just be thankful that we're all safe, and you and I have been in a very fortunate position to not have actually had COVID this past year, and I know a few people who've come down with it, who've luckily survived, and people who have had a week of feeling like absolute crap, and this is a serious thing. But we will fight it together and we will get through it, and by this time next year, one does hope that you said earlier, so the new normal, whatever that might be, but we will have our lives back in some form, and I think that'd be good. So
we're starting to see the resurgence of theatre now. Theatres are booking things again. The National's doing
the National.
The theatres are announcing new plays coming into the West End, new musicals coming into the West End, and tickets are beginning to book and shift again. So let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that continues to go that way, and hopefully, everyone will return to whatever the new normal is.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So let's keep our hopes and prayers in that direction. So while we're on the sort of the home stretch today, for this recording, I just want to sort of in closing just ask about if there was obviously you've had this extraordinary career up to this point. I'm sure you're going to continue doing extraordinary things, because you are an incredible
Exactly.
actor. You don't need to touch wood. It will happen for you, man. It will happen for you. I've had the pleasure of working with you at the National. I've had the pleasure of, speaking to you today and stuff like that. And it's been a genuine pleasure to have seen you again today, and just to talk about theatre and just talk about the world and everything else. Has been great. So in closing, I mean, if there's one thing so far, and of course, and in future experiences might trump this, but if there's one thing that you have experienced in your career so far that you will remember for the rest of your life, what would that be exactly? Was it working with a particular person, working on a particular play, or just anything, an experience that will, or experiences that will stay with you forever, basically, from being and working as an actor?
I mean, in terms of, it's a tricky one, but in terms of theatres, probably the most important theatre to me is Theatre Clwyd.
Yeah.
I am an associate actor there, and working in me. Do you know what? I know what it is, because the other theatre is very, very important to me, is the Regent Theatre in Stoke as well. But I know what it is. It's because this moment led to so many things for me, and because he was such an extraordinary person, it would have to be meeting Terry Hands in 1997.
Wow.
And I worked with Terry right up until his death. I spoke at his funeral. I think Terry is, you could use the word physically he's passed on, but his legacy is huge. So he can't really disappear. He can never disappear. But yeah, it would be meeting and working with Terry Hands, and that led on to going to the RSC, to working with Kate Wasserberg, who is a director that I love. She's the director now of Out of Joint. I think they've just had a name change actually, but she's the director there now. She's the artist director there. She took me down to Cardiff to do Blasted, The Dying of Today, and then back to Clwyd to do Glengarry Glen Ross, or rather that was the other way around, and then Little Voice. So Terry as a nucleus exploded a lot for me, and I think I trained as an actor at Welsh College of Music and Drama. Spent 3 years there. Some incredible teaching staff like Peter Doran, Marin LeConte, Andrew Neil, these amazing, amazing people who I worked with when I was there. But meeting Terry in 97 and spending a year working on proper rep with him at Theatre Clwyd, I think started me onto the track to becoming the actor that I am today. So yeah, I would say I would credit Terry Hands.
Yeah, I don't. What sort of techniques would he? What sort of things would he encourage? Just general things like.
He would always encourage you to know the play before you went into rehearsals.
Yeah.
He always thought that the script was a massive hindrance to actors, so to not have it was for him really, really important. He cast me in a virtually, it was impossible really, but I did it. I managed to do it, and it was more to do with him than to do with me, really. But he cast me. I was 27 years of age, and he cast me as Malvolio with Twelfth Night, which was his first Shakespeare, because he'd been at the RSC for 25 years, and it was his first Shakespeare that he did at Theatre Clwyd, and he cast me as Malvolio. Now, admittedly, he had lost his Malvolio. He had, I know he had, after it was a very big Shakespearean actor, and he'd lost his Malvolio. And he rang me the weekend before, and he said, because I was going to be in it anyway. I was going to be assistant director in him, and I was going to play one of the parts at the beginning, Valentine, I think. And he rang me on the Friday and said, "Look, I've lost my Malvolio. Right? Would you like to have a go at the role?" And you know,
yeah,
you're going to say yes.
It's an offer you can't refuse.
Stupid at that age, but you're going to say yes. Of course you are.
Yeah.
And he said, "Great, okay, see you on Monday." And then he put the phone down, and he rang back and he went, "You will be off book by Monday, won't you?" And I thought, "Yeah, of course I will be, because he was." There was points during that job where he was bordering on scary, but he would push you to the absolute limit to get what he knew was at the bottom of your bucket. I don't want all the stuff at the top. I want you to dig deeper. Now show me the real, the inners of it, and he was extraordinary. And it is because of him that, 9 times out of 10 couldn't, of course, in my country, work in progress. But I do know the script before I go into rehearsals for 9 out of 10 jobs.
Wow, that's a good one to do.
Glen Ross was a difficult one to learn. I did that with Kate Wasserberg at Theatre Cloyd, and I played Richard Romer in it. That was a difficult one to learn before going into rehearsals because it's like a piece of jazz.
Yeah.
So, the punctuation that Mamet writes in that is really, really important. All train compartments smell vaguely of shit, full stop. It gets you don't mind it, full stop. That's the worst thing that I can confess, full stop. How long it took me to get there? Question mark. A long time, full stop. So learning his, Mamet, if you read a book, have you read a book called True and False by David Mamet?
I haven't.
Extraordinary book. It's brilliant. I mean, he would say this, but I agree with it because he's a playwright. He would say that the job of the actor is to serve the playwright. Of course he would. But I agree. I think the job of the actor is to serve the play and the playwright. And one of his things says he's a big bet, big gambler, big poker man. And one of his things he says is always look for the sucker in the room. And if you can't find him, then it's you. And that's a great note for playing any script, but in particular for playing anything by David Mamet.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, that's so interesting to hear because I think if you're going to a rehearsal room and I think Anthony Hopkins does that as well, where what stories I've heard that he was doing Richard II and he was off book by the first rehearsal, and so you get yourself prepared for that as soon as possible, really. And when it comes to learning lines and stuff, what's your process? Because for me, I just read them over and over and over again, and just.
That's what I do. It's only repetition that can do it.
Yeah.
Rumor has it, and I'm sure it's true, but you mentioned Anthony Hopkins. Apparently, he reads his scripts 200 times, and I'm sure it's absolutely true. For me, same thing as you. It's just repetition.
Yeah.
But I do try to learn. That's one of the things that Terry said. Try to learn things at speed. Don't learn how to say them. So one of the things I worked on with him was a Tom Stopper play called Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are Dead.
Oh, cool.
And I played Guildenstern in that. And
wow.
So I learned one of the speeches that he has in that, for example, and I still remember it now. When did I do it? Oh, God, 2002, I think. A scientific approach to the examination of phenomena is defense against the pure emotion of fear. Keep tight hold and continue while there's time. Now, tricky one. Follow me carefully. It may prove a comfort if we postulate and we just have that within and sub and supernatural forces, the law of science will not act as a, so knowing that the scientific approach to the examination of phenomena is defense against the pure emotion of fear, keep tight hold and continue while there's time. Going at that speed so that you can come back and make sense of it. Yeah. Knowing it at that speed means that you can color it any way you want. Also, be careful about sitting down and learning lines, because that thing you have where you knew them this morning when you were sat down learning them. I knew them this morning.
Yeah.
And then you stand up to do the scene. Well, it's because your brain goes, oh, what? Walk and talk. Oh, you didn't say that. And that's, that's a real hindrance,
Yeah.
But you'd be surprised, walk around, learn the lines. They sink in quicker and they stay.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. Well, that's, I wish I knew that. But I'm very lucky so far. I haven't tried on stage, touch wood, as of yet. Well, maybe once. I had a brief moment where my brain went, oh God. And then it went, oh, there it is. Oh, thank God for that.
That's terrible. I had a moment I did a play again with Kate, and her husband, Leander Dini, was the other character in it. It was called Dying of Today. And I had a moment, I was a barber. And, I was sat in my own chair, and I was in the middle of this monologue, and I just thought, I've got no idea what comes next. No idea. And I sort of looked up. No. And then Kate, who was in that night, said she just saw me go and carry on. And she said, I knew in that moment of, oh, she said it was you going, there it is. Hey, it's going to happen to us all.
Yeah, it's gonna
Live
happen.
theatre.
Oh, it's live. Anything can happen. Yeah. Just one last thing I'll say is that I love one memory I have of filming in Birmingham of my country was you're playing Curtis Thomas Pop, and for anyone who hasn't seen it, basically we're all like in a line, all us extras, and then Christian or Cavan or Laura, any member of the cast would stand behind them and would speak for them. So the body was kind of a symbol of the normal everyday person, and then the voice would be from the back. And there was one outtake which I have to say still makes me laugh to this day. You're playing Curtis Thomas Pop, and you got this young lad there, probably his first gig. I'm not sure what it was, but
it was lovely that, yeah.
Yeah, and I think you dried at one point. Were you in this lovely childish voice, and he went, "You get good bus service. You get bus service. You get shit." Oh no, I didn't say that.
Yeah, that does sound like something I do. Yeah,
but I'm not taking the piss about it. It genuinely made me laugh so much, honestly.
The worst, but the thing is, he was quite a young lad as well. And the worst possible thing is when you know, like I do Panto every year and stuff like that, and you say to everyone else, you know, right, okay, the kids are coming in now, you know, to rehearse.
Yeah.
There's obviously you have babes in it. The kids come in to rehearse, right? So, you know, watch it now. We've had a nice day. We've, you know, said jokes and said that the kids are coming in, you know. And then you walk over to someone and you go, oh, fuck. Oh, sorry. And you're the one that said it, you know. You just think, oh, my God. I've just told everyone, you know, and then it's got to be me.
Yeah, I love that, especially in that moment as well, where you went, shit. Oh, no, I didn't say that. And then everyone laughed. And then you brilliantly just went to Rufus. Can I do that again?
Oh, God.
Oh,
yeah, what a job.
That made me laugh. That made me laugh. Oh, man. So, Christian, once again, this has been a lot of fun, man. Thank you so much for this.
Pleasure.
We've covered so much today. We've covered Sarah Kane. We've looked at Michael Sheen. Who, speak of the devil, while you were just on your phone calls, just released a recording of him doing Dylan Thomas. Do not go gentle into that good night.
Oh, lovely, yeah.
It's on the National Theatre's Instagram page, you know, because he'll be rehearsing there now. Actually, he's
doing... A couple of my friends are in there.
Milkwood,
Even Hugh David, he's in there. Lee Mengo, another mate of mine, is in there. And one of the guys that I did the workshop with Rufus, Carl Johnson, who's a bit of a legend in Wales, he's in it as well.
Wow.
So, yeah. And apparently it's sold out in minutes.
Yeah, I've got my ticket, thankfully. I got it.
Hey, good for you. I haven't got it. I'm hoping they're recording it.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll put it on National Theatre at home or something. I think.
I hope so.
But yeah, I've got my ticket for that, and for the next, was it Afterlife? And there's another play they're doing there, which looks. I think it's brand new, but Rufus described it and it sounded amazing. So yeah. So I can't wait to go back to the National. Obviously, it'll be different, social distancing, face mask, but we'll be back in the theatre nevertheless, which is important.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, but yes, let's draw an end here. Once again, thank you so much, man. It's been an absolute pleasure to see you again and to talk to you today. If you just hang on after the end of recording, I'll say goodbye to you personally, and then we can. But we'll end the recording here. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening for the Uncensored Critic, and I'll be back soon. So. Yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you again, Christian.
Very much. Thank you.